All right, welcome back YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. What we're going to do today is we've got to knock out some stuff on the bottom, the torsion bars, the torsion bar cross member and all that's still in there. So we got to get all of that out of there so we can start laying chalk lines and reference lines on the floor. And then once we get to that point, we can start laying the axle. And I don't want all of that banging and grinding and knocking while we're trying to get the axle and the measurements for the axle. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get under the truck, we're going to knock out the torsion bars, take out the cross member, and then possibly come up here and start grinding on the front of the frame and take a plasma cutter and finish cutting out all the other brackets. Is that moving? Yours. Ow! Just go all the way out the front. All right, now we got to take this down. So we get guns, take all these off. Is there any bolts up there? Or is it just right here?
Just right here.
All right. So we got to get those off, get those out, and then this cross member. Hopefully all of this comes out. I'm hoping this ain't part of the truck. This one, I think it is. This is the torsion bar mount. You can see where they broke it when they wrecked it. So I'm hoping it'll come out really easy. What size is that? 1/2 inch? I didn't think that thing would take it out. Leave that one in. Leave that middle one in. Take the front two off. Is that the right size?
Yeah.
You got your glasses on? Oh, that's the wrong way. Grab it. Yeah, don't dump it. It's full of dirt. Oh, pick it up. All right, take it outside. Oh, I thought it broke it. That's Kyle. Just leave it out there. We don't need it back. Go over on your side. You got these two bolts right here. Yep. Should come out fairly easy. Mine did. reach up and grab this. Bring it out and down. Spin it. All right, go back. Will that bracket or whatever's under it come off? That piece is broke. Pull it out. There we go. Go your way. Oh, man, I wish this was in there. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter because the exhaust goes that way. As long as this is out of the way. Because the dry shaft was about to hit it. But I think that's because it was broke. This rubber mount, they broke that. That's not supposed to be like that. Because there should be a nut on top that takes that mount out. But now we don't need it, so. Alrighty. Get You ready? Yeah. Go forward. 1, 2. Alright. Alright, so what we gotta do now is we gotta find the center of the axle, and then we're gonna mark a line on it. Because what we're gonna do is end up taking our laser and we're going to find center of the back part of the frame and center of the front part of the frame. And my laser shines on the floor. It'll shine forward and on the floor. So what we end up doing is we'll draw a line from the center, take a chalk line, and we'll snap it down the center of the truck. And that way, when we go put the axle in, we line the laser up to hit the axle, and then it'll shoot right down on the floor from our center line on the axle. So that way we know the axle's in the center of the truck when we're sliding it back and forth and trying to get it so we can start measuring and get lengths. So right now, you're going to see us try to find the center of the axle. Come on, Kyle. Got to measure. Shouldn't be. Brand new battery. Alright, so. I'll tell you to slide it that way. Oh, we almost got it. Go that way. Right. Yep, towards you just a little bit. Keep going. Go towards you. You're going the wrong way.
I'm pointing my way.
Well, you're turning it then, because it's not sliding anywhere. It was on 24, now it's on 25. You need to get it right there, right there. There it is. You go just a little more. Yep. Not that way. Like that. A little more. Keep going the wrong way. There we go. Too far. There we go. A little more.
Which way?
Towards the truck. Alright, so. Twist it that way, just a little bit. Alright, right there. Pretty close. Alright, how many of them want that? Well, it's flashing. You didn't do that well, though. Now, cool, and it kind of worth its weight in gold is that when you measure across the top of here, like when we go from grease point to grease point, we get our measurement, and then what you can do is when you divide it by 2 and you find out what you need, you line it up on your tape measure, and then it's straight down on the axle, the laser. If you see, it's coming up my arm. That way, you're not trying to eyeball it to find the center of the axle when it's way down there. It's referenced off the tape measure all the way down to the axle. So there's the center of our axle. So what we'll end up doing, come over here, Kyle. What we'll end up doing is we'll end up measuring the frame, find the center of the frame. Come on down here. And we'll find the center of the frame, and we'll do the same thing. When we find the center, we'll line the laser up on the center of the frame, wherever it ends up being, and then it'll put a reference mark on the floor. And then what we'll do, we'll put a mark on the floor on the laser, do the same thing in the back, and then we'll snap a chalk line and run it all the way to the back of the truck. And that way we know the center of the truck from one end to the other. And then from that line, we can measure out where our axle center line is going to be left to right, and then we'll be able to slide, use the laser. The laser will pretty much put the axle wherever we want it once we get those lines on the floor and the lines going this way. And we'll even do the reference off the back axle to where we can measure from the laser. So we got our laser hooked up, we're set up, we measured the truck, we found the center of the truck. And like I said, as the laser comes down, it shines on the floor. So we got a red line on the floor. So what we got to do is we measured the front while we were having problems with the camera, kind of off camera. So we're going to take a laser, go up front, and line it up with the mark on the front. And then we'll show you what we do next. All right, so we come up front of the truck, got our tape measure. We found center. It's centering off our tape measures that lays across there. We got it on the floor. As you can see, we'll mark the floor. Kyle, if we come down here and look, you can see that lasers the whole truck all the way back. Now, let's walk to the back. Go back there and get ready. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can turn on the light. Okay, you can turn it on.
Now, we did everything right. If you could see it. Can you see it through the camera?
Yeah.
The laser from the front comes all the way across our mark in the back. Now what we'll end up doing is, since we got two red lines now, finding center from the frame, we'll take a chalk line and we'll lay it from here all the way to the front, and then we'll snap that chalk line. So we'll end up having a line all the way to the front. We won't have to have the lasers on. And then we use the lasers once we get to the point of everything comes to final. Like when we go to adjust our links, go to put in welds, and where we make everything solid. So stay right there, Kyle. Turn the lights on. Shine the light up here. So, since those are good, come over here, Kyle. Now what we'll end up doing is we'll pop these wheels off, which we already made some lines earlier, but we end up moving the truck. So we'll end up taking the wheels off, and we'll make another line on the floor, and we'll go all the way across. We'll do the same thing all the way across to the other side. Put a chalk line. Actually, we'll come out a little bit, snap a chalk line. And then from that chalk line that's on the floor, we can measure our wheelbase up, which we're going to make the wheelbase. Chevrolet says the wheelbase is 108.3. We're going to stretch it to 109 just to make it easier. So we already did a measurement earlier just to see how, if our numbers would play out and where we want the axle. So we'll do the same thing. We'll come all the way to the front on both sides, and then we'll snap another line all the way across. Everything will be referenced on the floor, and as long as we don't move the truck, we should be able to always pull a measurement from somewhere on the floor to see whether the truck's in its spot. And I also got some plumb bobs. And we'll hang plumb bobs too, to make sure that when we're trying to find the center of the axle this way, we can plumb bob it and make sure that's where it needs to be. Because the other thing I discovered is that these coil buckets, they are not center of the axle. So we have to center the axle and find out where we want the axle and place our coil buckets accordingly. Because when I first started doing it, I started measuring where my coil bucket would be at 109 inches, and it won't work. That would push the axle back. I think I tried to measure this. This is like 1.5 inches, almost maybe 2 inches from the center to here to what I thought was center of the axle. So that's things that I've been finding out when I'm putting this in. So right now we've got our marks to where we can snap a chalk line through the center. And we'll get the chalk line, we'll do that, and then I'll show you some tips after the chalk line's on the floor. Alright, so we just snapped our chalk line. I'm not going to show you what a chalk line is. Hopefully y'all know what a chalk line is. But now that our chalk line's on the floor, matching our red lines, you want to take some clear and you want to dust it. So when it falls, the blue line can't get rubbed off real easily. Like, you'll have to come back and clean it once you're done with your project. So now your blue line is pretty much permanent with the floor until you come back with something and you clean the floor. So we come up here. So this is more of the critical areas in the front. So. Now if you want, you can do the whole blue line down the bottom of the truck because it runs all the way to the center. And then, like I said, we end up doing blue lines on the floor this way. And this is where you got your laser. All of your lines are referenced off the center, off your center axle and everything. And I'm doing all this at ride height on these tires. Now right now, I don't know if you can tell, but there's jack stands under the axle. You never do your project with just air in the tires and hoping that it will sit there, because the difference in tire pressure will cause the frame to lean, which we went through and leveled the frame this way and that way, 4 or 5 different places to make sure the frame was level. So I'm going ahead and knock this out. Let's just be the outro, because this is all we're going to do, because obviously we got to let that clear coat dry. But what I'll end up doing in the next video, or the next time I'm out here, is I'm going to start grinding the whole front of the frame and plasma cutting all the slag from the other front end that was under there. But like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and just keeping the project going. Thank you.